to Indigenous Food Friday. And today we are making a full dinner. We are going to make a Three Sisters salad with rainbow trout. So we're going to need corn, some summer squash, so crookneck or straight neck, yellow squash, zucchini, and beans. Your beans can be any kind of whole bean. These are kidney beans, but you can use pinto beans, potawatomi pole beans, lima beans, really whatever kind of bean you want. And then we're gonna make a wajapi sauce. So you're gonna want 2 cups of fresh or frozen berries and maple syrup. And then I have some gorgeous rainbow trout, but you can use any kind of fish or meat or protein, or just omit if you want. So let's get to cooking. Okay, so first I've got a medium-sized pot, and I'm going to add about 5 cups of water. Now I've soaked the beans overnight, but when I started it was just 1 cup. Now I have about 4 cups of beans. They've been rehydrated overnight. Go ahead and add that in. And this is just gonna cook for about 25 minutes. But I always add some cedar, like a pretty good stock of cedar. It adds not just flavor, but it will help you to digest the fiber of the beans. You know, many people, when they eat beans, we all know it happens. And for some reason, the cedar kind of cuts that down so we can digest it without it fermenting and producing gas. So I always add a good sprig of cedar. You don't have to, but I love the flavor of it and I love the benefits of it. It helps you to digest it and use the whole nutrient of the bean, all of the protein and the carbs and everything. So we're gonna bring this up to temperature and it's gonna cook for about 20-25 minutes. Now I'm gonna move this over to my stove and we'll cook this for 20-25 minutes. While that's cooking, we're going to make our wajapi sauce. Okay, so I've got 2 cups of frozen berries. They can be any berries and they can be fresh berries. But this is blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries. I love to add strawberries too, so I'm gonna do that next. But go ahead and add 2 cups of those berries. And then we're going to add, and I know you guys don't like it, I don't measure very often, but I'm gonna add enough syrup that I coat the bottom of that pan. And I'll stir it up so that you can see. So all of the berries are in the syrup, so you can see that. And depending on how thick you want this sauce, you can add more or less maple syrup. Totally up to you. Okay, my son just let me know he ate the last of the strawberries, so this wajapi sauce is not going to have any strawberries. But really add any berries you want. You can even do choke cherries, cranberries, dewberry, salmon berries, whatever you have around. So this is still heating up. Now I'm gonna add, this is about a tablespoon of chopped fresh mint. Go ahead and throw that in. Now regular wajapi is just the maple syrup and berries cooked down to almost like a jam or a sauce. This is a recipe I received from the Sioux Chef's Indigenous Cookbook. If you don't have it, it's marvelous. It has given me so many ideas and opened up so many doors. It's an amazing book. It's the Sioux spelled like the indigenous name, S-I-O-U-X, Chef's Indigenous Cookbook. And it's actually made by real indigenous people. I believe he's Lakota, but don't quote me on that. Okay, so we've added our mint. We're gonna add a pinch of salt. We're going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of sunflower oil. And if you have maple syrup vinegar, use that. I don't, because I wasn't able to tap our trees this year because the weather's weird. So this is just apple cider vinegar. I'm just gonna add a little dash of that. And go ahead and stir that up. Okay, and so you're gonna wanna bring this into like a low boil and then hurry up and turn down the heat so it just nice and simmers. We want the berries to break down and become more like a sauce. So the blueberries will pop and everything will break down super, super nicely. So I'm gonna move this over to my other stove so we can keep on cooking. Okay, so now we're gonna prepare our corn. I will show you my method. I cut the tip of the silk off to remove if there was any pesticides used or just, you know, because the tip of the corn is usually that dark, gross stuff. But I keep the corn silk because you can dry it and add it to tea during the winter time. And it's a huge source of nutrients and vitamin A, which most people don't get enough of anyway, but especially in the winter time. These aren't really great corn husks. I might keep some of them for a later recipe if they're nice. But I just wanted to show you that you can use all of the corn. And even after this, we're gonna keep the corn cobs because you can make a beautiful corn stock out of just the corn cobs and then keep that in your fridge. That's a nice one. So look at all that gorgeous silk, and most people just throw that away. Don't throw it away, use it. It's beautiful and it's there for a purpose, so don't throw it away. Dry it. And it's easy to dry because it's already dry. So I just leave it out on like a netting and it dries within 24 hours. And then I keep it in a container and then add it to teas. So, I mean, look at that. And most people just throw that away. So I am going to clean up 4 ears of corn. I'm gonna leave the stalk on because we're gonna broil these over the fire, okay? Okay, so now I've got my 4 corn of the cob ready to go. So now I'm gonna drizzle and rub some sunflower oil on each one. And a little bit of salt and pepper. Now I'm gonna roast these outside. But if you don't have access to have a fire or a grill, or you just don't want it, it's too cold or whatever, you can do them inside. Just use your broiler in your oven. Just make sure to check it often and turn it. Guess I shouldn't have done this on a hill. Okay, I'm done roasting my corn and you can tell I got some hot spots, but it's all right. Now I'm just gonna set this aside to cool because we're gonna cut this off the cob. So we've got our beans almost done, our rajapi sauce is done and just sitting off to the side. Now we're gonna go to the next step. Okay, off to the side, I have a pan heating up with just a little bit of sunflower oil. We're gonna heat that up over about medium heat. Now I've got my yellow squash and zucchini. We're just gonna very thinly slice it, and you can cut it this way or you can julienne. I'm gonna go with some nice strips like this. So that will lay down nicely on the plate. Yes. Now on this dish, there's you can do a lot of the prep beforehand to help you out. You can make the wajapi sauce, of course, beforehand. You can have the beans done, so, you know, braised in the cedar, so all you have to do is warm it up. So then all you have to do, or even the corn, you can have the corn completely done too. So all you have to do is toss it and then it's completed. And then I'll just do the same thing to the yellow squash. I think I'll do this in 3 separate pieces. And we're just gonna cook these until they're, you know, pretty quick. So like 3 minutes on each side. So this part goes fairly quickly. Okay, so now we're just going to carefully put these into our pan, and we're going to cook each side about 3 minutes. Forgot to tell you, go ahead and just sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and flip them and cook them another 3 minutes on the other side. So you can do this in multiple pans or big griddle, but for the sake of filming, I'm just using this one pan and I'm doing it in batches. So whatever works best for you. Now when you're done with each batch, just let that one go a little bit longer because it's a little thicker. Just putting them off the side in a mixing bowl. Oh, it smells so good. And now we're going to add some yellow squash. Pepper. 3 minutes on each side. Okay, and if you need to, go ahead and add more oil in between batches. And really, I like my vegetables just flash cooked. I like them to still be crispy, not soggy or mushy. Now for this, I'm just going to use the 1 zucchini and 2 of the yellow summer squashes. I think that will be plenty. And that'll feed 4 to 5 people, depending, you know, on how hungry your guests are. Okay, now while the squash is finishing up, I'm going to go ahead and process this corn. And we're just cutting the corn off of the cob. Super easy. Now, another thing I mentioned at the beginning is keep your corn cobs. If you can, and you can put them in a baggie and freeze them and save them for later, or you can go ahead and make it now, but it makes the best corn stock. All you do is add your corn cobs into a pot of water, add a little bit of salt, and bring it to a boil for about a half hour to a couple hours, depending on how rich you want it. And then I just keep it in jars in the fridge because then I'll use it in my next sauce or soup. Super, super easy. And with the roasted flavor, it makes it even better. Okay, so now I've got all the corn off of the cob and I'm gonna add it to the squash. Now, if you need to, go ahead and put it in an oven just on warm to keep everything warm, but I don't want it to cook because you don't want the veggies to get mushy. But the beans that we're cooking will warm this up as well. So it really won't get cold. And I like to use a metal pan because it really holds the heat in nicely. So I'm gonna set this aside, keep your skillet ready because now we're gonna cook the fish. Okay, so now we have our gorgeous trout fillets. Sometimes you can get these at the grocery store, but of course they're best fresh. So in the same skillet, I've got it on medium heat. I'm gonna add some more sunflower oil. And then with the fish, we're gonna salt and pepper both sides. So salt and pepper. And then carefully add in skin side first. And this I'm going to do in batches as well. Fish cooks very quickly. So while this is cooking, I'm gonna salt and pepper these other two. Now you can use smoked fish, that would be really, really good. Or any kind of fish you like goes very well with this dish. Now, while our fish is cooking, we have these gorgeous beans that have been cooking. I save the fluid that is in this as well as stock. I don't throw that away either. So then you can, whenever you want, you're gonna have cedar bean stock. It's amazing in soups. So now I'm just gonna add my beans, remove the cedar, and pop that in. We'll go ahead and take this out. Thank you, cedar. Put the beans on in. Now, if you don't want all of the beans, that's fine. You can always reserve them for later. Some people don't like that many. But look how gorgeous this is together. We're gonna toss this all together. And it's okay if there's some cedar sprigs or leaves still in there, it's fine. It's edible, of course, otherwise I wouldn't use it. And it actually goes well with the dish. Okay, let's go ahead and toss that. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit more sunflower oil. And a generous pinch of salt or two. And some pepper. And we're just gonna toss this. How beautiful that is, all of the colors. It's gonna look beautiful with this fish. Okay, so we're gonna toss this and then I'm just gonna pop it back in the oven at warm, just to keep it warm while we cook our fish. It's looking beautiful. So very carefully, we're just gonna turn it. This cooks for probably 4 minutes on that side. And it probably only needs like 2 minutes on this side. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so I'm gonna turn it back over so we can crispy up the skin just a little bit more. Gorgeous. Okay, now we're ready to plate. So we're just gonna put this gorgeous, the Three Sisters corn, beans, and squash. And then I cut the fish, the trout, into pieces so they lay pretty on top. And then we have our wajapi sauce all cooked down. And I'm just gonna very gently pour that onto the fish. Look how beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? I wish you could smell it. So this is Three Sisters salad with fresh rainbow trout. Enjoy.